I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Good evening, everybody. You are watching the Cryptid Podcast, and I am your host, as always, Dan. Hey, you guys, I just want to say thank you so much for the support you've shown this channel, all the subscriptions, the likes, the views, the shares, the comments. You know, guys, thank you so much. Just to let you guys know that I am now offering a $2.99 membership to the Cryptid Podcast. And with that membership, you get early access to a Saturday exclusive show. So you'll get the early access to that, and then later on in the day, I'll release it. So I'll probably release it earlier in the day, probably like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, and then I won't release it until later on, maybe like a 7 or 8 o'clock at night for everybody else. So it kind of gives the members a few hours to watch that. I just want to say thank you again. Let you guys know that this is a safe place. So if you've had an encounter and you'd like to come on the show, you can email me at thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. Against thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. You guys, I have a guest on tonight. His name is Richard. I actually reached out to him, I think, in the comments on one of the episodes, and we were able to connect. And Richard's fascination with Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call him, started off pretty young. It's kind of an amazing encounter. I didn't want him to tell me the whole thing. And then later on, he had an encounter with his son at what did he say here? Table Rock Lake in Arkansas. So you guys, I'm not waiting any further. I'm just going to get Richard right here on the show. Richard, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, Dan? Nice to meet you.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I am super excited to hear, especially what got you into this. So let me ask you this though. So before that first, what got you turned on to this whole thing known as Bigfoot, was that ever on your radar even as a smaller kid?
No, never even crossed my mind. Never thought about it. It was never there.
Now you said that this encounter happened to your dad, and this was like back in between 76 and 78, I want to say. But, you know, from the area, this happened in Arkansas, correct?
No, this was actually out in the Lake Tahoe, California.
Oh.
Where he had his sighting.
Okay, yeah. All right. So you know what? Hey, I'm just going to go ahead and let you get right on into that story.
Okay, yeah, we were, my uncle lived up in Lake Tahoe. He had cabins that he rented out, and back behind there was a big meadow that was at the bottom of Heavenly Mountain, which is the ski resort. Well, there's a big meadow. Us kids used to go back there, play, and just ride snowmobiles and just have a good time in this meadow. Well, Dad, every morning he'd go out and he'd go walking when we'd go up there, and he'd come back one day, white as a ghost, shaking, sat in a chair and didn't say a word. And then my uncle's bothering, what's the matter? He kept bugging. He said, nothing. And he said, well, I'm going to tell you, but you're not going to believe me. I saw a Sasquatch. And he said, no, you didn't. Dad says, I was walking across the meadow. The hair on my neck just stood up, and I turned around, and there was a big Sasquatch just standing there in the meadow looking at me. And he said, two little ones walked by. Once they got in the wood line, then the big one turned around and walked by. And my uncle's like, well, let's go back out. And Dad wouldn't go. They finally bugged him enough where he said, I won't go without a gun. So, of course, they loaded themselves up. We all went out and we found the tracks. We followed the tracks all the way down to a creek. And when it crossed the creek, it got up to a real rocky bluff line. And that's where the tracks disappeared, up on that bluff line. And ever since then, I could still picture them tracks. And we tried to stride them, and there was no way in the world any of us could stride how far apart they were. And that was what got me into it. We're really, really interesting in it.
Okay, so were you present when your dad came back in?
Yes. We were actually sitting down to eat breakfast in my uncle's cabin, and he was scared. My dad he wasn't scared of nothing. To give you a little background, my dad he was Coast Guard, search and rescue Coast Guard, and in Sacramento, we lived across the street from a park, and every year this biker gang from Oakland, California, the Black Panther biker gang would come to Sacramento. Well, they kept blocking the driveway. Dad went right in the middle of this whole biker gang and got onto him. And the guy's like, "Hey, you got a lot of
moxie."
Yeah, and coming in the middle of this, and guy says, "Well, who these guys are?" And Dad told them. And then after that, every year after that, as soon as they come over, they ask permission. Can we park in your yard? And then they bring us food. And so, I mean, he didn't have fear of anything. But when he come back in, and you could see the fear in his eyes, and him not wanting to go back out there, that's what really, really was shocking, that he was scared that he wouldn't go back out in the woods.
So after that encounter, about how long was it after that, you were able to go out and do your thing? And
when I moved out here I moved out here to Arkansas, and I really wasn't even looking, but me and my son were fishing on Table Rock Lake, and we heard the coyotes. We were way back in this cove, way back where you can't run the motor, you have to run a trolling motor. And we heard these coyotes just yelping and splashing, and all of a sudden to our right we heard trees breaking, snapping. We could hear something walking down, and the coyotes just bolted. And whatever this thing was, it was walking down the hill, just stopped. Well, about 20 minutes later, the coyotes come back, and there was one big long yelp from a coyote, and then a bunch of splashing in the water, and you can hear something walking, and the coyotes took off again. And then I told my son, I says, for some reason our spotlights died. I said, we need to get out of here. No, let's go see what it is, Dad. Let's go see. I said, no, we need to get out of here. So we trolled on out, and then we heard a really, really loud, deep howl. Probably, I guess you can almost feel it from that far away, but it was loud. And I said, I don't want to know what it is. Whatever it is, I don't want to know. So that was my actual first encounter to where I actually heard something and started really thinking there's something out here.
What was one incident that kind of shook you up a little bit? I mean, I've had encounters myself, and I can think of a couple that really kind of punched me right in the mouth, made me realize, hey, this is for real, like legit. Yeah, you can hear things, you might see some things, but what's the one thing that really just made the hair on the back of your neck just stand up?
That was one of them, but the next one that really got to me is about a year later. Me and my son were fishing again, and we always fish at night. And I told him, I said, dang it, son. I said, you hit me in the leg with your weight. He said, what are you talking about? I said, your weight hit me in my leg. It hurts. He said, Dad, my weight's right here. So I turned the spotlight on, and there was a rock in the bottom of the boat, and I had a big cut on my leg. So something on that bank threw a rock at me, and that right there sent chills up my spine, because my leg was bleeding. There was a rock there in the boat, and there's nobody going to be in the middle of the woods it was a little island is where it was. There wasn't nobody out there. And that really sent chills up my spine. I wanted to get away from that island real quick.
Well, let's hear some more, just, because when you and I were talking before, you said you might have had some Class A's, but before we kind of get into those, so let me ask you about this whole boating incident. So did you hear anything on the shore?
No, not when that rock hit me. We didn't hear anything. We shined our lights all around. We went all the way around that little island. There's a little cut between the mainland and the island. It's only about 12 feet long, but it's shallow, so anything can go through there. But we didn't hear anything. We didn't see anything. But there was definitely a cut on my leg and a rock in the boat.
But how big was that rock, would you say?
2.5 inches probably.
Oh, okay. So it was and it whatever it was, just lobbed it right at you, and it hit you right in the leg.
Yeah, hit right in the shin. And yeah, I was actually bleeding.
All right. So what else? So after that, what other things have happened to you?
Me and my son, my same son, we were back up in that one of them same coves, and we heard something way off in the distance. And as it got closer, you could say it kind of almost sounded like a enormous bullfrog. Kind of the only way I could explain it, just and we kept shining light. We never saw anything. Never saw anything. Never saw anything. And the further we trolled away from it, the more it walked towards where we were at first time. And then I was out with a guy from work, and same cove right there in Arkansas, right by the Arkansas-Missouri line. We were fishing, and we heard something walking up on the top of this hill, and you could hear it just breaking branches, and I whistled, and whatever it was whistled back the same exact whistle that I did. So I did a couple more whistles, and every time I whistle, it would do the same thing. So we moved to the other side of the lake and started trolling the bank, and you can hear it walking up on that hillside with us. And every time I whistle, it would whistle. Well, I got back to work, and I was talking to Wyatt about it with that guy, and that guy looks at Wyatt. He says, "Oh, that was you walking through the woods, wasn't it?" Wyatt's not going to be in the middle of the woods at 2:00 in the morning whistling, breaking branches.
Right. So the one prior to that, you said you heard it walking towards you or walking around. Like what were the sounds that, you said you may have sounded like a bullfrog, but not a bullfrog, and that you heard it kind of walking as you guys were trolling away from it. Like what noises was it? Snapping branches, or just being, just obnoxiously loud to let you know that it was there? Or
yeah, a really loud stomp. You could actually hear the feet, and then when it stepped on a branch, you can hear it break, and you can hear trees moving, like something's pushing branches out of the way. And that's when I kicked the trolling motor on high and started trolling out of there. Sometimes you get that feeling that says you need to leave.
yeah,
It's time to get out of here.
So other than that rock that got thrown at you, have you had anything else thrown at you at any other times?
Yes, Wyatt and I were up in Missouri, just over the hill from the cove that most of our action happens in. And Wyatt and I were sitting there, and we heard coyotes. First, we heard a big long whistle, a really, really loud long whistle. I could whistle extremely loud, but this was 10 times louder than I could ever do.
Oh, yeah.
And we were sitting there looking, shining our flashlights, couldn't see no coyotes, we could hear them running, hear them howling. And behind us, a big rock hit the water, a big rock. I mean, right next to the boat. And I know it wasn't a fish. I've been fishing Table Rock for 30 plus years, and it wasn't a fish. It was a rock, a big rock that hit the water. We both spun around, and Wyatt actually drew his pistol, and you could see the ripples in the water, but we couldn't see nothing from where it came from.
Yeah.
And that was kind of scary.
Now, has most of your activity happened around that area?
Yes, there's two main coves that all of our action's been happening at. Me and my son were on the back side of the cove. This was just 2 years ago, and we heard something walking on 2 feet. Well, we started shining the light, and you could see it, a big black mass shadow walking up the hill. Well, we backed backwards, backed the boat away from the bank, and whatever it was started coming back down. And he had my IR camera, and you could see it, the shadow of it walking back down. And what was weird is there was a shiny object that was right above this thing when it moved. If it went back up the hill when we got closer, that shiny object, whatever it was, almost like an orb, followed him. And then when it came back down, the orb followed it.
You guys you have that footage by chance?
It should be on the IR camera. It should be.
Is there any way you guys can email that to me?
Yeah, I'll have to charge it up and everything.
Okay. I would say if it was ready to go right now, I'd tell you to email it to me right now so I can try to put it on, because that sounds really intriguing. So definitely send that to me, and I'll put that on my community page. So yeah, I definitely want to see that. So outside of those, Is that just pretty much it, or is it just pretty much the same thing? You go fishing, chucks a couple rocks at you, makes a couple bullfrog noises or whistles, and then kind of like a hit and run thing.
It was in September of 22. I believe it was 22. I was fishing on one side of the bank, and across the lakeside on this point, there's a fishing guide, and something hollered so loud that you could feel it rumbling in your chest.
Really?
And this guy across the lake hollered at me, "What the heck was that?" I said, "I don't know." Well, I'm out of here. Well, for him to leave when he's got customers in that boat paying to fish that spot, and he left, that was something scary. Well, it went on for a while. But, you hear people say, "Oh man, I should have recorded it, or I should have shot it. I should have took pictures of it." That's what went through my mind after the whole ordeal was over. I just froze.
Yeah.
But I did get like 3 or 4 seconds of the howl on my phone. I actually recorded it. You can barely hear it, but it's there. And I was like, why in the world didn't I get my phone out and record this when it was first going on?
Yeah. Yeah, you caught the tail end of it.
Yeah, you always hear people saying that, oh man, and people's like, yeah, you didn't see no, you didn't hear nothing. Well, you don't realize how you freeze up, how froze you get when you're in that situation. You don't even think about recording. You're just trying to figure out what it is and where it's coming from.
Yeah. It's been what? Let's see. 92, 2002, 2012. Let's see. So it's been like 30 years since, my last encounter. And that's what stopped me from going deep in the woods, uncharted area. It's not something I wanted to. But I kind of think about it. I wish, I believe I'm ready now to go out, especially around my area, because there is some activity going around my area that's literally minutes from my house. So I'm going to be going out and trying to do some investigating. But back in the day, I wish I had something like an audio recorder but back in the day, you just didn't think about that type of stuff because you weren't expecting to run into anything like that. So
Exactly. I don't scare very easy, but there's been times that, I just get chills and then I need something that just tells me, get out of here. You don't need to be here.
Yeah.
So I honestly think that, people might call me crazy, but I think that they know my boat because I've got these lights on the side of my boat that shine way up on the bank.
Yeah.
And I don't usually hear anything until I turn them lights on.
Oh yeah. Cause you, like you said, you do a lot of fishing at night, who else is doing fishing at night?
And then not very many.
And then here comes Richard, big old Richard with his big old lights on his boat, and he's going to completely just ruin our fishing trip. So yeah, they're going to get mad at you. Yeah, they're going to chuck rocks at you and make a bunch of noises and whistles and hollers and, to scare you away. Because think about it. How long do you think that thing has been, or if there's more than one, how long do you think they've been in that area?
Yeah, I'm 100% convinced that there's a family living in that area somewhere. We were fishing that one cove, Wyatt and I, and we heard something walking, and I just did a real soft whoop. And when I did that, something on the right side of the bank jetted up the hill fast. Something big, and it was fast, ran up that hill. And then on the other side, you can hear something walking. So I don't know if I just scared something or got too close and it was a juvenile or what, but it was fast. It was real fast up that bank.
Man, I need to make a trip so I can fish that cove with you.
Yeah, come on. We'll put you in the boat.
Man, I would love to have some encounters like that. So, but let me ask you something, man. What do you think these things are?
People call me crazy and people call me dumb, but I think it's a Bigfoot. I don't have any doubt in my mind that there's Bigfoot.
What do you think Bigfoot is? Do you think, is it a flesh and blood? There's so many different answers to this. And I'm not going to say what you think is wrong because no one really knows. You'll have people that are just adamant. It's this and it's only this. It can't be this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's flesh and blood, but I'm not going to put out of my mind that it's not some kind of animal that can teleport itself or any of that. But me personally, I think it's a flesh and blood, kind of like a missing link creature.
That's what I thought for the longest time, like the missing link. But then, after more photos that I've seen or drawings that I've seen, listened to encounters, watching documentaries and other videos, reading reports, I quickly got rid of the whole missing link type thing because it just didn't fit, the reported narrative of what the missing link should be.
Yeah.
Josh Smith, my buddy, my bro, he believes that there's a spiritual element between it. And then you have Daryl Denton. He believes there's more of a, like almost like a supernatural thing. Josh always says, they're flesh and blood when they're flesh and blood, and they're not when they're not. Me, I think they're 100% flesh and blood. Someone was talking about, that there's something else. And I made the point that, the Native Americans have drawings and verbal history dealing with these creatures, almost onto like a partnership that go beyond the beginning of Christianity. They were here before, before Christianity was even a thing. And, who knows what it is? And I don't think we're ever going to know what they are until one is captured, maybe, or they just decide to come out of the woods and they just say, "Here we are."
Yeah, it's true. I think they're flesh and blood. I do.
If you had the chance or the opportunity to see one, like clear as day, as you and I are looking at each other right now on this screen, would you want that opportunity?
Personally, me, I do. That's why I go out there. I mean, that's one of the big reasons I go out. I want to see one with my own personal eyes.
Have you ever thought about like putting cameras on your boat, and that way, you have that ability to potentially see them?
I thought about getting a GoPro and strapping to my chest.
Yeah. I'd get one probably for your body, and then one or two, maybe even 3 or 4 for your boat, to put them up on the sides of the boat, like one on each side, and then one in the bow and one in the stern of the boat, So, yeah, I mean, camera up your boat, man. You see people cameraing their cars up. I mean, give yourself every opportunity you can to get to see these things, Have you thought about going ashore, where, you're having these encounters and setting up trail cams by chance?
No, I really hadn't thought about it. Wyatt and I did get out one day up in one of them coves and walked to the back of one of the coves, but it ran into private property, and so we stopped right there and looked around. But as far as getting out, walk through the woods on the core land and stuff, putting up cameras, I've never thought about doing that.
You said it's private land. Is it owned by a person or a company or
a person?
Have you thought about going and knocking on that person's door and just ask them, "Hey, I've been fishing this cove for, 3 decades, and I'm hearing some weird stuff. I'm encountering some weird things. Have you ever had anything happen? If so, what? I'm trying to come to the bottom of this. Can I put cameras up on your property near that end of the cove or whatever?" Have you ever thought about reaching out to the owner?
No, I don't even know where the houses are at. It's so vast in there. There's so much area and so little houses. I guess
really?
I've got Onyx, but I've got it set up for Arkansas. I don't have it set up for Missouri.
Yeah,
and a lot of them are in Missouri side.
Right. All right.
Yeah, my son and his friend, they were fishing one night in the Arkansas Missouri Cove, and my son's friend said, "Hey, there's a bunch of deer right there on that hill." It had a little bit of moonlight so they could see a little bit. When they got closer and said, "Oh, that ain't no deer. That's a bear. There's a big old bear right there." So they got closer, trolled over there and got closer. So this thing stood up on 2 feet and walked uphill across the power line into the woods. I was like, what do you think that was, son? Well, I don't know. It may have been a bear. I said, a bear's not going to walk on 2 feet uphill into the wood line. But he won't come out and say it was a Bigfoot, but he's like, I don't know. We think it was a bear, but we don't know. But he knows, but he just won't. He won't come out and say it.
Man, that's the easy cop out. Oh, it was a bear. It was a bear. Come on. How old's your son?
He's 32 right now.
Yeah, your son knows what he saw. He just don't want to come out. He just doesn't want to come out and say it. That's crazy.
And that's on the same power line that Wyatt and I have most of our encounters. It's just over the hill.
Yeah.
I try and get Wyatt to walk that power line, and I'll pick him up on the other side, but he won't do it.
No, he won't do it again. Not after what he saw. I mean, have you walked that power line and seen or experienced or heard anything?
No.
No.
Well, I won't walk it. I won't walk it.
Why don't both of you walk it?
As long as I'm with someone that I'm faster than.
Shoot, I'll come there and walk it with you.
I told him we need to go. We need to park right there one day and go walk up that hill and then up to the top of the power line.
Yeah, what is it? What, like 2-3 mile walk?
Oh no, it ain't even that far.
Yeah, well,
No.
you do it in like 40 minutes.
One side you can't walk; it's so steep. But the other side, where my son and them saw that at, yeah, you can walk that. It's 250 yards, probably 300 yards.
Oh, come on, that's like a 15-minute walk there and back. Wyatt, I know you're over there off camera, man. Why don't you just go walk it?
We may do it one of these days.
Yeah, one of these days. That means no. I know what that means. So hey, Richard, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I find your encounters, even though they may not be Class A encounters, it's still it's a very active activity. It's a very active encounters. It's not, well, I heard this. I kind of saw something moving up, couldn't identify what it was. So there's multiple aspects to each one of your encounters, and I find them really fascinating.
Yeah, there was a group of guys that they wanted to go to this one area, so I shuttled them all over in my boat, and they were walking around this old abandoned campground, and I was staying out on the edge, and they were getting closer to me, and I told them, I said, guys, there's something looking at me, and I've got the pictures I had. Well, I don't know what happened to. I had some pictures of the eye shine. And I said, there's something looking at me. You guys are right by it. Just start walking to the right. Well, they started walking or to the left. They started walking, and they just froze, and whatever it was took off.
See,
right.
I know about this story, and I was wondering how long you were going to hold out on me, because I know you were the guy in the boat, and I'm waiting outside. I'm wondering if he's going to tell us about this story. You held out on me.
Yeah, I got a message. Don't go too far because there's something here.
Yeah.
And so that's when I went around the point, and sure enough, there was something that it looked on one side of the tree. You could see the eyes just shining, and they'd look on the other side and they'd disappear. And it'd look, and it was 6-7 feet off the ground, easy.
So let me ask you. So was you getting a text message or you getting a call?
A text message.
Who are you getting that text message from?
Wyatt.
Okay, so let me ask you this: how many people were in your group?
Was there 6 of them on the
7 on the
seven?
ground?
There was 7 on the ground, and then me in the boat.
Okay, how many people can your boat carry?
Easily? I was taking 4 at a time.
Okay, so you got 7 dudes ashore. Okay, and stuff's kicking off.
Yeah.
How quick did people jump in your boat, and how quick did you get them out of there and then back? Because this is at night.
Yes.
Okay.
About 12:30 in the morning, probably.
Yeah. So your first group, how many did you take?
I took 3.
And where did you drop them off at?
I just straight across the lake. Maybe a half a mile across the lake, maybe. I dropped them off at the boat dock, and then I hurried back and got a couple more.
Now, when you hurried back from the time that you left and dropped those 3 off and you came back, what was the activity? Were you given any updates on what the activity was kicking off?
They said something was walking towards them. They can hear something walking around. There was more than one, because they can hear one side and then hear some on the other side. And they definitely wanted off that island. They didn't want to leave one person by themselves for sure.
Yeah.
And when I got back to get the rest of them, the last 3, they definitely wanted off. And one guy had the dish, and he said he can hear it walking as we're driving away. Well, I shut her down, and you can see the eyes following us. Whatever it was, the eye glow was following us, and he can hear it on the dish. He said, I can hear it walking. He don't have any way to record it, but he was listening to it.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of I didn't even troll. I just let the, waves and stuff just kind of push us along. And we heard it the whole time until I fired up and we finally got all the way out of there.
Man, see, I'm telling you, you're holding it out on me, son. That's what you're doing. I know you're doing. You're holding out on me, man. Come on. Yeah, that when White told that story, man. But see, now I'm getting it from 2 different perspectives. I'm getting it from one of the people who was sitting there on land, having this thing come at them, and then here you are on the boat, and they're like, "Hey, you need to get back here like yesterday, like now. Something's going on." So let me ask you: when the first 3 guys jumped on the boat, what were they like? What was their actions? What was their demeanor?
There was one guy was so shook up, he will never go back there. He was scared to death. It literally scared him to death. He won't. There's no way in the world you'll ever get him back out there. But he wanted to get on the boat very first. He was the first one on the boat. He wanted to get out of there. He probably has nightmares of that.
Right. And then what about the second group?
That was the last of them. Those are the ones that we just kind of had. He had the dish, and they were kind of excited that there was something. They found all this. They found deer in the tree. They found fish in the tree.
Yep.
They found tables that were smashed apart, big, thick 4-inch concrete tables that were moved and flipped over. And they were pretty hyped up that they found something, that they knew that there was something out there. And they want to go back. Actually, they did go back a few weeks ago.
Now, let me ask you this. So, do you know if you could have only taken, because you said there were 7, so you took 3 back to first, that left 4. And in your opinion, if one person had to stay behind because your boat just could not carry another person, do you think when you returned, do you think that person would have been there?
They probably would have been swimming across the lake.
Really?
I'd guarantee you they probably would have jumped in the lake and tried to swim out.
Which group was White on? Was he the first group or the second group?
He was the second group going to the island, and he was the first group coming back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's the one that texted me.
I think there was 3 groups when you took them all out.
Oh, really? So you dropped off 3 groups and you took 2 back because everybody else is like, you know what? I don't care. I will sit in your lap, Richard.
It actually overloaded my boat. My boat was barely moving with all them people in it. It was barely going. But I wasn't going to leave someone out there by themselves.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, they had equipment. I assume probably not a bunch of equipment, but still, especially when you're on a boat, and your boat probably sits low in the water. It's a bass boat, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Sorry.
Yeah. Yep. I know. It's those boats sit low in the water, man, and you got to be careful, or you're gonna be swimming.
Yeah. And Wyatt and I, we were going back up in that one cove in Missouri side, and we seen the structure, teepee looking structure.
Yeah.
I think he showed a picture of it.
Yep.
And we did get out and look around, and there was hundreds of clams.
Yeah.
That something was eating. And then our flashlight died. Fully charged flashlight just would not work.
Wow.
It just died. And then we got away from that. The flashlight kicked right back on. And then that same area, Wyatt and I were out, and he swear, I mean, he saw a snout. We saw eyes. There was more than one set of eyes, low to the ground, and then somewhere up higher that I was seeing. And the light hit it just right, and he saw a snout, which Dogman, he 100% convinced that he saw the Dogman that night.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, you guys, if what all of you guys encountered that same night was a dogman. You guys, or dogmen, you guys are so lucky to got out of there, like for real. So
Yeah, whatever it was that I saw from in the boat, there was at least 3 or 4 sets of eyes that were watching me. And I know it wasn't a deer or a raccoon because it was too low or too high up. You know, deer, they're not 5-6 feet up in the air, and
yeah,
they're not hiding behind a tree and looking around. And they were
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of a greenish yellow eyes.
no, thank you.
I sent pictures to them guys when they were on the island. I said, "Hey, I've got eye shine. You know, there's right by you guys. And I sent pictures, and they were glowing.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Well, Richard, man, I'm going to tell you right now. I love. I mean, I love. Second time I've heard that story, but from a different perspective, and that's what I like about it. If you had any words of advice to someone go out looking for these things, or actually going to the area where you guys had your encounters, what would you give them?
Keep your head on the swivel and carry, be packing. Yeah. Make sure you've got a good enough gun that where if you needed to use it, that you'd be able to use to get out of that situation.
And have a bigger boat than a bass boat, so you get more people on it.
Yeah, more people. Yeah,
Put a couple of 250 Mercs on there. Look, 250 Mercs on there.
yeah. A big pontoon would be great.
A pontoon?
Yeah, that would be
Oh
great.
yeah. Put 400 Mercs on that thing. You ever seen one of those?
Yes.
I've seen a video where someone put like 400 or 500 Mercs on the back of a pontoon boat, and it was just screaming.
Yep,
So.
I see them all the time. That's more money than I got. So
Yeah, it's redneck ingenuity, man.
One night, Wyatt and I were up in the Cove in Arkansas, and we were going into the Cove, and we heard something just busting through the woods coming down towards us. And I'm hollering at him, "Turn the light on, get the light on." I can't, I'm trying, get the light on now, get the light on. And he turned it on finally, he got it on and shined up, didn't see nothing.
Wow.
You can hear it. You can hear something big moving, but never saw nothing. So we heard a howl coming from way back up in the back of the Cove. And that's when I told him, I said, "Man, it's time to go. I'm getting fuels. We need to go." We started trolling out, and you can hear it getting closer. So I just kind of quit trolling and just let it drift a little bit, and it was getting closer and closer. And then whatever was on the other side, it took off the other way. But you can hear them. They sound like they were communicating back and forth, just howls. And I dropped that trolling motor again. I kicked it on high, and we trolled on out of there. Because you can't run the big motor because there's so many stumps, and you'll tear your motor up.
Yeah, that's what White said. Yeah, that's crazy, man. That is. To me, trolling motor ain't fast enough to get you out of there, man. Especially when you got these things. Imagine them jumping. How far do you think they could? How wide do you think that cove is?
I honestly don't know. Rich would be the one to ask better than me. It's probably when we get back on the narrow part, it may be about 30, 40 yards wide, maybe in the narrow part.
You think about one of those things running full speed. You don't think they could jump out to your boat?
Oh yeah, especially coming off of one of them bluff lines. Yeah, there wouldn't be any problem for them to jump that. If they could stride 6 feet, just a walking stride 6 feet.
Yep.
Imagine how far they can jump.
Oh, and think about them tossing a log out at you guys. Man, you guys are playing with fire every time you go out there, man. You guys are lunatics. That's what you guys are.
90% of the time I don't feel threatened. When I hear stuff or see stuff, it don't bother me. It's okay, there's something there, we need to see it. But there's other times that it just gives you the chills, and they're letting you know, hey, you're not supposed to be back here right now, leave.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Richard, man, I just want to say thank you again for coming on the show, man. I appreciate you. And yeah, you guys keep doing what you're doing, and let me know if you got anything new, and I'll have you guys back on.
Yeah, we'll do. I just got my boat back today, so I had it in the shop, so I'm ready to get back out there. I was just telling Wyatt today, I got my boat back. We're ready to go back out there.
Yeah, seriously, go out there with your fishing gear, but man, have a camera, have your, audio recorders, anything you guys have, because I would love to hear audio, and look for that video that you have, that footage that you have, and yeah, send it to me as soon as you can.
Yeah, I'll send you that howl that I have too. That I should have recorded the whole thing, but that was one of the times that it was like, oh my God, you could feel it. I mean, I literally felt it in my chest, and that guy hollered, "I'm out of here."
Yeah, no kidding. All right, my friend. Well, I'm going to close the show out. Again, thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate if you want to hang out just for a second.
No problem.
You in the lobby. Stand by here.
All right, thank you, sir.
Hey, everybody. That's our show for tonight, man. I'm going to tell you right now, I love hearing it. See, I knew Richard was sitting on that story. I knew he was. I knew he was sitting on that story. I'm glad I was able to get that out of him. I knew he was going to tell it, but to get the story white relayed from a different perspective just makes that encounter just even more intense, because you have a total of 8 people, 7 are on shore, and they're getting all this type of stuff. And then, while they're doing their thing on shore, you got Richard sitting out there. He's like, guys, I got eye shine out here. You guys need to, it's coming towards you. You guys need to pay attention. Yeah, it just makes it more intense. So, like I said earlier, this is a safe place for people to come and share their encounters or stories. So if you want to come on the show and share your encounter, please email me at the cryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. Again, thank you for all the subs, the likes, the comments, the shares. Just so you know that Cryptid Podcast is now offering a $2.99 membership. For $2.99, you guys get exclusive early access to a Saturday release. And there are more things in the works with the Cryptid Podcast. I can't divulge it yet because it's not official. I'm also working on merch, so I'll be hopefully rolling some merch out for everybody out there. And remember, if you guys have seen an encounter or had an encounter, seen something you'd like to come on again, come on the show. It's the cryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. As my buddy Josh always says, stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, remember, you guys, a legend starts with a sighting. Have a good night, guys. I'll catch you later.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?